You ask ChatGPT a question, and it answers like it's thinking. Well, it's not. Under the hood, it's doing one almost embarrassingly simple thing: guessing the next word, billions of times a second. So how does guess the next word turn into essays, working code, and conversations that feel so incredibly human? Welcome to this explainer. Let's open it up, byte by byte, and reveal exactly what's happening when you hit send.
Let me just state this bluntly right off the bat. There is no mental map in there. There's no massive encyclopedia or database lookup happening when you type in a prompt. ChatGPT doesn't know the answer to your question the way you or I do. The absolute core of this technology is just this. It predicts the next chunk of text, over and over and over again. It looks at the words you gave it, guesses the most likely fragment to come next, adds it to the sentence, and repeats until it's finished. Every essay, every joke, every single line of code it writes comes from that one single move performed billions of times. And once you grasp that, honestly, everything about how this AI behaves starts to make perfect sense.
Okay, let's dive right into step 1, words become numbers.
To understand how a machine guesses words, we first have to remember that computers don't read words, right? They do math. So text gets chopped up into these numeric puzzle pieces called tokens. Now, a token isn't always a whole word. A simple, really common word like cat translates into exactly one token. But a longer, more complex word like neural networking actually gets sliced up into smaller chunks. In this case, neuro, net, and working. Even the emojis you use get their own specific numeric tokens. And just to put the sheer scale of this into perspective, 50,000. The AI model has a fixed set vocabulary of tens of thousands of these tokens, usually right around 50,000. So everything you type, every massive document you might paste into that chat box is instantly translated into a sequence of numbers from that specific fixed vocabulary before the system actually does any processing whatsoever.
Which brings us to step 2, the transformer engine. Once your words are chopped up into those numeric tokens, they flow into a neural network architecture known as a transformer. Introduced back in 2017, transformers were an absolute revolution because they process all of those numeric tokens in parallel at the exact same time. And their true superpower? It's something called attention. See, older AI models read text sequentially, one word at a time. It was basically like trying to read a long book through a drinking straw. You completely lose the big picture. But attention allows the computer to look at all the words at once. It mathematically learns which ones matter most to each other, no matter how far apart they are in a paragraph. It actually grasps the full context.
Take a look at this sentence. The trophy didn't fit in the suitcase because it was too big. As a human being, you instantly know that the word "it" refers to the trophy, not the suitcase, simply because suitcases are usually bigger than trophies. But how on earth does a machine know that? Well, attention. The attention mechanism weighs the context of the entire sentence, mapping the relationship between trophy, fit, and big. This is exactly what stops the AI's output from just being random word salad, and it's what makes it sound so incredibly coherent across a really long conversation.
Moving right along to step 3, predicting the next token.
Now this is where the actual guessing game happens. But here's the secret. The AI doesn't just confidently select one single definite next word. That is not how the math works under the hood. When you type "the capital of France is," the model calculates a massive probability distribution. It generates a ranked list of how likely every single token in its entire vocabulary is to come next. So in this example, Paris gets a 91% probability, the word "the" gets 2%, located gets 1%, and so on. It is not recalling a geographic fact from memory. It's simply generating a ranked list of mathematical probabilities to find the most likely pattern of text to follow those specific words.
But you might be wondering, does it automatically just pick that 91% option every single time? Not necessarily. It samples from that probability list, and that sampling is controlled by a setting called temperature. Think of temperature like a creativity dial. A low temperature setting makes the model highly predictable. It almost always grabs that absolute top choice, which is perfect for coding, math, or hard facts. But a high temperature setting turns up the dial, making the AI way more adventurous, reaching for less likely tokens further down the list. That's amazing for creative writing, poetry, or brainstorming. And this temperature sampling? It's the exact reason you can ask ChatGPT the exact same question twice and get 2 completely different answers. It's literally rolling a weighted mathematical die.
So how did it learn to do this? Let's look at how it learned. 2 stages of training.
How does this massive guessing engine actually learn these probabilities in the first place? It happens in 2 wildly different stages. Step 1 is pre-training. This is the raw consumption phase. The model is fed a staggering, frankly unimaginable amount of internet text, trillions of words from books, articles, code, you name it. No humans label this data. The AI's only job is to read it and predict the next token over and over, absorbing grammar, facts, and reasoning patterns. But the result of just doing that is wild. Early models from a few years ago would happily go off topic, go on weird rants, or just make things up constantly. To fix that, we need step 2, RLHF, or reinforcement learning from human feedback. Think of this as strict finishing school. Humans literally sit down, read the model's responses, and rate and rank them. They teach the AI what's helpful, what's honest, and what's safe. That magical transition from a wild, chaotic internet reader to the polite, highly usable assistant you interact with today, that almost entirely came from this human feedback alignment training, not from just making the digital brain bigger.
And that brings us to the big reveal: brilliance and confident lies.
Once you understand these mechanics, the AI's behavior becomes entirely predictable. It writes fluently because it has mathematically mapped trillions of words during pre-training to know exactly what fluent language looks like. It follows instructions well because humans explicitly rewarded that behavior during the RLH stage. But here's the real aha moment. It hallucinates, meaning it confidently makes things up, for the exact same reason that it works so brilliantly. It's only ever generating the most plausible sounding next text. It is not verifying those facts against a database. If the most mathematically plausible answer happens to be a complete lie, it's going to state it with absolute fluent confidence. The machine fundamentally lacks an "I don't actually know this" mechanism.
Which leaves us with a vital question to consider. What are the implications of relying on a sophisticated pattern completion machine as a source of truth? Remember, as this explainer has shown, ChatGPT is not a fact lookup. It is undeniably a brilliant, phenomenally sophisticated piece of technology that has read more text than any human ever could. But at the end of the day, it is just smart guessing at an unimaginable scale. As you continue to use these tools, keep that reality firmly in mind. It's up to you to verify the facts. The machine is just there to supply the pattern.